but seriously deciding that you don't want to be intimate with someone because of the genitals they have is transphobic, particularly like if you think about in this case, this means that this person is not open to dating trans women, which invalidates their womanhood.
So there's a lot to go over. The absurd statement, the gender ideology, all that stuff is fair game to talk about. But that's actually not what I'm going to be going over today. Because you see, this is a prime example of what I like to call the leftist word game. And I'm sure other people on the right have more professional sounding terms for it and can describe it better than I can. But it basically works like this. Anytime these guys want to push something new or radically change things, what they need to do is just redefine terms, misuse terms, or create words out of thin air, which is what they have done for a number of things. But this gender ideology stuff is a perfect example of that, and this person is a perfect example of that, even though I can't really blame this individual because that's what they have been taught to believe. But that's basically how it works. They have redefined words. They do that all the time with this gender ideology stuff. They had to redefine the word gender and the word woman. And they do this all the time with a whole bunch of different issues. So to beat this, there's a simple strategy. And it's this. Make them, if you're involved in a debate with them or a dialogue with somebody who actually supports this kind of nonsense, make them define their terms. Okay? So if somebody is saying, for example, somebody who believes they are a woman is a woman. And notice I deliberately avoided the use of the term trans because that in itself gives them ground to, you're basically conceding that the idea of somebody being trans, which is somebody being something other than what they were born, is true. Which it is not. We can't even give them that ground. And yes, this might seem like semantics, but it's important. You have to know what terms to use, what words to use, and what words not to use with these people so that you can actually get them to define their own words. And I'm going to give you a perfect example from real life that actually happened. So I was on a platform where I expressed my views, as I do, respectfully. But of course, people take an issue all the time with the views that I express. Specifically, somebody took an issue with my stance on gender ideology. So I invited them to meet me on a call and have a dialogue about it. And this person immediately started saying that people who believe they are women and trans is a real thing that exists and stuff like that. And so I was like, okay, well, what I want you to do, I want you to define the word woman. He could not do that, so I did it for him, which is just the dictionary definition of woman, which is an adult female human being. And what is a female? That is just the a member of the human species that is ordered towards reproduction and carrying children. That's what a female is, right? So that is the definition we get to work off of. Now, this guy didn't even give his own definition, but usually you're going to get the whole, oh, well, a woman is whatever a woman is, whatever feels like a woman is, but that's just answering the question with the question. It doesn't work. So if they were to give that kind of definition, what you make them do is you basically say, okay, well, how is this definition better than the definition that, used to be accepted? How is this better? And you can maybe get somewhere doing that, okay? Now, we didn't actually get to that level where we had that discussion because this guy did the second tactic of the leftist word game, which is make up words from thin air or use words that have been made up from thin air by cowards. So he called me the classic transphobe. Now, I did the same thing again, and I told him define the word transphobe, and he said anybody who disagrees with the idea that somebody can be trans. So what he did, he admitted that he's just using words that are made up to smear people who disagree. He just basically admitted that that word is meaningless and is only used against people who disagree with a concept, which makes that word and that label completely and utterly meaningless. And I pointed that out to him, and he just started doing the third favorite tactic, which is just screaming and trying to do ad hom the whole time, ad hominem and personal attack and all that kind of stuff, which is to be expected. That's what those guys do. But that's how you get them to. Well, they're not going to admit that they've lost. They're not going to admit that their position is nonsense. But to everybody else who was watching, they could clearly see that his position was just nonsense, and he could neither define words that he actually needed to be able to define, and when he could define words, so like the transphobe thing, he just admitted that that word is a meaningless word that people use to smear people who disagree with them simply for disagreeing with that concept. So just simply by getting these guys to define their terms, you make lots of progress. Maybe not with that specific person, but showing the public just how nonsense and how little sense this type of stuff makes is very important. We want to reach people, not necessarily like the people who are advocating this stuff. They're kind of in too deep, but we want to reach the other people who might be on the fence about this stuff. Just with this simple tactic of just getting these guys to define their terms, regardless of where it is. Gender ideology, I've seen it happens the most, but they do it with other stuff as well. Regardless of where it is, get these guys to define their terms, and you will be set, because they probably won't be able to define their terms, and even if they can, it won't make any sense, and you're going to gain a lot of ground that way.